Mental health is important to us for a number of reasons. We feel we've got an accountability as a business to our employees to help deal with whatever they've got to come in life, making sure really that our employees leave work in a better state than they came to work the day before.
Do you want to start by telling us just a little bit about yourself? So where you're from, a little bit about your history, your background.
Okay, my name's Justin, as Carla said. My story begins a long time ago. So I was 13 when my father actually committed suicide. I was actually overwhelmed with a range of emotions that I didn't know how to deal with. Long story short, my addiction and my mental health issues actually stemmed from there, from back when I was a child. And if I had knew then what I knew now, I never would have got myself into that situation in the first place. But, at 13, I can hardly be blamed for not having the knowledge, to know how to deal with these things. It's been one hell of a journey since then. I've spent the last 10 years of my life living in Cairns. About 20 months ago, which is how long I've actually been clean now and sorted my life out, I moved from Cairns down to Toowoomba to attend Sunrise Way. It was the best investment that I've ever made in my life. Truly and honestly, I can actually stand here today and be proud of the person who I am, which is, to me, that's absolutely priceless.
Thanks, Justin. So tell us a little bit about in that time of your life when you were struggling with addiction. What was that like? What were your days like for you?
The first words that come to mind are lonely. I was in a very, very dark place. I was actually at the mercy, of compulsive thinking. Whatever went through my mind, I acted upon because I didn't know any better. And at the time I didn't have the tools or the knowledge to be able to deal with these things in a different manner. And one thing that Sunrise Way has given me is, tools and knowledge and awareness around all of this, because if I'm to beat something like this and to become a better person, mentally, the first thing that I need to do is actually understand it, because if I don't understand it, I don't have a hope in hell of being able to move forward.
So was it a long time before you actually sought treatment or sought support that you knew that things weren't going so well for you?
So to be honest, I was in active addiction, which obviously came along with mental health issues for the best part of 15 years. For at least 10 of those years, I didn't actually think that I had a problem. Only in the later years of my addiction did I realise the actual impact that it was having on my life, my relationships, and just general interaction with the world, and what effect it was actually having on my life. Because whilst I was going through that, I kind of had tunnel vision. I couldn't see a way out. I didn't know anything different. You know what I mean? So to me, it was just all I knew. So it actually took me a long time to realise that I could actually take the blinkers off and open myself up to a whole different world.
So it sounds like there was a whole lot of chaos that was happening in those times.
Absolute chaos. I mean, to just act out of pure compulsion, it's something that I can't describe, and it led me down many roads in my life, that I look back on, and ultimately I don't regret those roads. I probably wouldn't wish them upon my worst enemy, but in saying that, they have made me who I am today. So, to sum it all up, I accept the past that I've had because I can be happy with who I am today.
And so if there are people here today that might have friends or families that are going through some similar struggles, what advice would you give them as to how they might be able to support someone they care about who might be going through something similar?
So one thing that I can say is I didn't get to be the person that I am today without help, which, to be honest, taking into account the pride and ego that I had before I actually asked for help, it was probably actually a part of the recipe to my demise. But I would suggest, to no matter what happens, just to keep that connection with these people, you know what I mean? And the best thing that you can do is offer support, you know what I mean? Like whoever it is that we're speaking about, they're another human being on this planet, you know what I mean? And the way I look at things now, if we all cared about each other, as much as we cared about ourselves, the world would be a much better place. So, in my advice, I never would have been here today if it wasn't for friends, family, you know, and other people who actually care about you or your mental health and whatnot. So, you know, just being there for someone is a massive thing, you know what I mean? And in my experience, you can't save anyone, but you can be there to help them, you know, in times of need. Ultimately, the decision is on the person if they want to fix their lives or not, you know, but a helping hand to point them in the right direction is definitely a good start because, like I said, if they don't have the knowledge or the awareness around what's actually going on for them, then, you know, they might be stuck in that aspect of their life for a little bit longer than they'd actually like to be.
So it's about just being there for somebody and letting them know that you're not going to give up on them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, over the course of my addiction, you know, let's just say I made a mess of a lot of the relationships in my life. I upset a lot of people, you know what I mean? But when push comes to shove, I always had someone, you know what I mean? And whether that person was my mum, it doesn't matter. Like, I had to have someone, because if I didn't have someone that had hope for me or, you know, had that little bit of belief that I could actually get through this and do this, then I never would have been able to take that hope and instill it into myself and use that as a driving force.
Okay. And so we've talked about how your life became fairly unmanageable and chaotic, and you had lots of people around you to support you. What were some of the things that you learnt along the way? You said you had this toolbox, these coping strategies. What do they look like for you now?
I guess the most common things that I use on a daily basis at the moment, one at the top of the list is gratitude. You know, if I'm not grateful for what I have, then I'm always going to be searching for something more outside of myself. And if I'm not at peace within myself, there's no money in the world, there's no cars in the world that are going to give me peace. You know what I mean? I could have every material possession in the world, but if I'm not at one and at peace with myself inside, none of it's going to work. You know what I mean?
Thanks, Justin. And what does life look like for you now?
So, you know, if I take into account that 4 years ago, I was homeless, I'd ruined every relationship I had in my life, whether it be family, friends. You know, I went to jail. I was spiritually, emotionally, physically bankrupt. You know, that was 4 years ago. In the scheme of things, that's a tiny speck in our lives. I walked into Sunrise Way about 20 months ago, and right now I actually have my own place in Brisbane. I've got my own car. I manage a company that has 6 locations. So I manage about 40 employees across 6 locations on a day-to-day basis. My boss was kind enough to give me the day off today to come and do this.
We're all very grateful.
100%. But long story short, you know, regardless of what problems I have in my life today, you know, I can stand in front of a group of people that I absolutely don't know from a bar of soap and can tell you that I'm actually happy with who I am, you know, and I'm proud of where I've come from, you know, and my life is great. You know, I might not have the answers to everything, but I do have the tools and the awareness to find out that if something's wrong with me, you know, I have the confidence to be able to go, you know what, I can fix this.